You're good to go.
Hi, my name is Natasha Bailey, and I am currently the executive chef and program manager at Thelma's Kitchen. But my journey started about 19 years ago. I got into cooking. I was always in the periphery of my life, but I really couldn't even boil water. I started cooking when I got married to my husband, and then after we had our second daughter, I really got into it. I really got into raw foods and food systems and learning where food came from. And then from there, I progressed to, I went to culinary school because I wanted to learn how to break down whole animals to use all of the products. And then from culinary school, I became the head chef at Eden Alley. That used to be on the plaza. And then from there, I wanted to do a product from grass to customer. So I went to Green Dirt Farm. And I started out there as the production manager, so I was testing all the milk, tasting all the cheeses, learning the logistics, and then by the time I left, I was the sales and marketing director. So I was going all over the country selling cheap smoked cheese, which was a blast. But also nobody knows that you can milk cheap. So it was also challenging in that way. I had to really explain that cheap, this is a really good product and the milk is really good. And then COVID hit and things looked different. And I found myself at Thelma's Kitchen. And that's kind of funny too, because when I came to Thelma's Kitchen, I was 6 months pregnant, and my husband was, I think, 6 months out of rehab. So I was, we have 5 kids. So I had 4 kids at home, and I was stir crazy because I was home all the time because of COVID. So I just started seeing how I could help. And my friend Shanita was starting the Prospect, and she started taking me around to all the different locations that were feeding people. And I wound up at Thelma's Kitchen, which was 2 blocks away from my house at the time. And they needed a lead cook. So I applied, and I've been there for the last 5 years. And it's been nice. It's been nice to see it go from being a place where people, they still had dignity, but it was more of a transaction. It was more of a transactional relationship. And now we've kind of been able to create a space where people, we're more of a helping hand. We just kind of are like a gateway to other services that help you get back on your feet. But in the process of that, I was able to support local farmers, which is my favorite thing to do, and create a space where people feel comfortable no matter what their life looks like. And I have a staff that's been with me the whole time that I've been there, which feels really good to be able to care for people in a way where they feel supported and want to stay with me to keep our mission going. But I think that the thing that I've learned the most is that care is a vehicle for much more than just food. And I think that my lasting effect will be to show people how to care for other people. So, food is often our first language of care. Meals can communicate safety, tenderness, survival, and belonging. And that's kind of where, I am right now. I'm trying to be more consistent with my care and trying to show people that care is also noticing when other people need care. It's nourishment beyond calories. And I think food creates emotional, physical, and communal support that I think we all need right now. So I know food is a biological necessity, but I think food also shapes identity, ritual, and connection. And that's kind of something that I want to do every day. I've had different opportunities being a chef to just learn different realms of eating. So I'm a James Beard judge. So having to go out and taste and critique other chefs' food has been an eye-opening experience because there's a level of care there as well. You can not like something, and there's a way to say it that uplifts someone, and there's a way to say it that tears someone down. So I always try to approach that with care. And same with any judging that I do. I'm also a cookbook judge for the International Association of Professional Chefs. So I do that, and then that's another layer of care that I try to give. And that's fun for me because it's invisible. Nobody knows that I'm doing it when I'm doing it, and that is great. It feels so refreshing because sometimes you can just be a voice that is good for someone who poured their heart into something that's really important to them, you know? So it feels good to be able to know that in all of the judges that they get, all the judgment, that there's gonna be something in there that they can grow from. I try to make sure of that every time. And that's kind of what I try to do with my staff. So we, every day, kind of meet people where they are. And cooking for others can be emotional labor, but it's also the best form of generosity because you can love on the farmers that produce the product, that care deeply for their land, while also being able to, if this is the one meal that someone gets in a day, I know that there's some nutrition in there that's gonna help you think just a little bit better, you know? Because I know how hard it can be when your brain's cloudy and your stomach is growling. So it's just like, that's kind of my mission. And I sit on 31st and Troost, and every day I get to see what disinvestment looks like. So it's like, it's hard. It's hard because it's not just like a little bit of disinvestment, you're looking at years of disinvestment. And I think that makes it very hard for people sometimes to ask for help or to walk through the door because they think that there's gonna be a level of judgment there. But the most joy I get is after someone finishes their meal and they just say, thank you, you don't know how bad I needed that, you know? Because I honestly don't wanna know how bad they needed it. I just wanna feed them because that's what I'm there to do. So I try to like lead like that because the money will come. All of that will come, but this person that's in front of me at this time, I need to be there for them and give them what I can because I've got it to give at that moment. So I think that's something that I try to lead with. I was so nervous to do this, but I'm so glad that I am because most often when I've done things, anything, it's because someone's asked me and it just kind of makes me get out of my own way and step out of my comfort zone. And I'm finding that lately with everything that's kind of going on in the world, it makes me feel very uncomfortable a lot. And sometimes sitting in that discomfort, it just is such a good time to have new ideas, you know? To just take the moment when I feel completely uncomfortable and step into something that is a good nervousness, a good discomfort. So that's kind of what I've been leaning heavily into. And I think sometimes that is a feeling that people get when they have to kind of step up and care for other people. So I've been really intentional about like the people around me, because if I'm leading with care and asking them to do the same thing, I have to also have empathy for the bumps that are gonna come when you have to be there for someone else. And I know it sounds like an easy thing to do, to be there for others, but it can be very hard. Caregiving is very hard. And I think on a large scale, we all need to be cared for already. So the thought of caring for someone else can seem so overwhelming. And that's kind of why I think I've stuck in food, because there's so many ways to give and care for others in this hospitality realm that I've been in. So that's kind of why I'm really, really being thoughtful with the producers that I give my money to, and really trying to support the local farmer, because they keep our ecosystem going. And when everything else starts falling apart, I know that I can go to them and get really high quality product to be able to give to my customers. And I think that that is kind of how I'm looking at everything right now. I'm kind of getting really small on how I'm spending my money, pulling back in, but also putting it in places that I know it's going to be effective and create care and change. So that's kind of what I've been really pressing forward towards this last year and a half. But I think I've always been kind of doing that in the back of my head. It's just been in my subconscious, because feeding communities becomes a little bit political, and you don't want it to be, and nobody wants to like deal with all of that, but it is so important. And if we don't stand up for each other, no one's gonna come and save us. So I've just been trying to make sure that I am providing realistic ways that people can kind of step in and fill the gaps that need to be filled. And every day I have the ability to give a token to someone, which is like cash. But in that giving of the token, on the back end, I have to build community partnerships all the time and break down all the silos that are there that keep us working on the same thing, but not knowing that the other person's working on it at all. So I've been trying to be more intentional about bringing people in and having them be a source for other people, because our communities are getting to the point where there's a lot of need, but I think mutual aid is very important too. So that's kind of what we try to provide, that a space where that ecosystem can grow, where we can be there for each other and lean on each other, and then provide services throughout the community that help kind of balance out the gaps that are there for everybody. I had a question I was gonna ask the audience. Is that okay, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna say, who taught you how to feed others? I'll ask you too, because you don't have to answer that one if you don't want to. And when has food helped you heal? I'll go so it's a little easier. When has food helped you heal? I'm gonna do that one. I'm gonna say food has helped me heal when when I sold all that cheese. I sold a bunch of cheese and then I got canned, and I made a huge charcuterie board. I took all the bits of everything that I had, and I made jams, and I made this ganache that I pigged out because it was sourdough time. So there was like tons of bread and like crackers, and everybody was fighting with toilet paper, and I made this huge charcuterie board, and me and my family just sat and noshed, and it was so healing because I don't know, there's just something about sharing a meal when you're so sad, and in the middle of the meal, you're usually laughing by the time you get to the end, you know? And that, it was just filling in a way that I really needed at that time. So I think that, I always say we're better together, because I really think that, and I truly believe that, and I think that sharing a meal, it may seem so small, but it can make someone feel so seen. So that's kind of, if I had anything, that's what I would want.
Yeah. I think mine is all similar. That whenever, like in school, like, because every time we talk about food as the vehicle, it's like that overlays into art too,
Yes.
and just the processes, and so. But food became our tool for connection between artists. Like whenever we'd be working on a project, it's like, let's get out of the studio and go get ice cream. Like,
Yes.
it's like the childish snacks of like, but we're all sitting around sharing ice cream.
Yes.
And then the giggles happen and
Yeah.
everything, and the big ideas too, and it's the community around the food sharing.
Yeah.
Not necessarily what's on the table, but the how you get everybody together to go share the food.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I was thinking of feeding others, obviously my kids, that's a big, but before that, I'm really big on getting people together. Like, I'm one of those people in a neighborhood, I'll go meet all my
Yes.
neighbors, and then invite everybody over for like happy hour,
Yes.
or dessert, or something. And just once a year, twice a year, if you do that, I think you have a lot less of neighborhood
Yes.
things about like your leaves are blowing in my yard. Little things like that, because you've eaten together,
Yeah.
you know these people,
Yes.
and you feel like they're your friend.
Yes.
You know, maybe you don't power them all the time, but it's the eating together.
Yeah. And you know they're there. You might not talk to them all the time,
Right.
but you know if you take a little something over there just to say hi, it goes a long way, you know?
Yeah, and I think those potluck meals are a great thing because everyone feels like they're contributing.
Yes.
And it's not just a casserole, it's part of that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's,
And I love that, because sometimes you are getting a part of them, you know?
Yeah.
There's stuff I wouldn't make that I wouldn't even know it's there unless I had a friend make it because it's their grandma's favorite thing, and it's like, you know? So it's like so nice to just also get just a little glimpse into somebody else's joy in life, you know? So that's really important.
Sometimes they're passed too. I feel like those recipes that get passed down and stuff.
Yeah.
Where like you realize you make it the same way as someone else, and
Yes.
it's like from that one church cookbook.
Yes.
You're like, wait, your grandparents went to that church too?
It's like,
across states.
oh, I
and
love
everything. You're
that.
like, wait, what cornbread mix do you use?
Yes. See, that's so good because there was I think it was either first or second grade, but everybody in the class brought in a recipe, and I think that was the first time I really got excited about making a recipe because you brought your recipe, but then everybody else got to try it too.
Right.
So I just remember looking at their faces, you know, I was just like, I'm ready. I'm like, oh my God, I know this is good, you know, I hope they like it so much. And it's like, who doesn't like Oreo dirt and gummy worms, you know?
Right.
But it just brought me so much joy. And I was sitting thinking about the smells of food and just like the way a smell can bring you back to a place in time, to a memory that means so much to you. And it's like sometimes I'll be stirring. I love making red sauce on Sundays. It's like my favorite thing to do. I love the smell. I love that I can start at like 6 a.m. and it can just go and cook. And I want my kids to have that, you know, I want them to, when they smell a red sauce or like something, I want them to think of me and their dad, you know, like he makes the tomatoes and I make the sauce. And then it's like, it's those moments that I hope when they're out in the world doing their thing, if they do get a little lost, you know, something like that will bring them back to me, even though I'm not there. So I really think that those things are really important. And on top of that, it's always been super important to me that my kids know where their food comes from. Because I think that just like the potluck and meeting with your friends and having a meal, sometimes getting your hand in the dirt and watching something grow and then being able to cook with it and eat it provides a layer of life that I think that we move around so fast all the time that we don't get that, you know, we don't get that joy
Kids don't even know where things come from.
at all.
Sometimes I saw in third or fourth grade, they ask kids, what's bread made of?
Yeah,
And they don't
they have no
know
idea.
where flour comes from.
Yes, so nobody's baking, they just buy the loaf.
They buy it and, you know, they'll say flour, but they don't know what
Never
flour
felt
is
it,
made of.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, or seen a grain be broken down.
Right.
So it's like those little things are very important. And where I work, a lot of times there are older adults there that are just kind of getting reacclimated to being in the workforce. And that has been so great. It is one of my greatest joys because I think people feel unappreciated a lot of the time. And cooking is something that we all have to do, no matter if we like it or not. So when they get into my kitchen, there is a level of not distrust, and not a lack of confidence. It's a little mix of both. And the more we start getting those knife skills up and they start learning food safety and kind of feeling more confident in the kitchen, the more they start sharing. And then they want to show you this recipe. And then they want to try this ingredient. And that's when I'm so happy because it's like, it's working. You know, they're letting their hair down a little bit and they're excited about food. And then the farmers come in and then they like talk to them and then they're excited about what their crops are doing. And that is what I feel I'm here to do. You know, I'm just here to connect those dots that don't get to be connected all the time. And in that, we share a meal, you know, and watching them make something and then see it presented in the cafe, oh, it just feels so good because if people really like it, you know, they'll come to me, but I take them to them because they made it, you know, I just gave them the space to be able to do it, but they did it, and to see the joy on their face, that's why I get up in the morning. I get up because sometimes when people, they have the best intentions and they want so bad, but they're just scared, you know? It's very scary to put yourself out there. So I think safe third spaces are really important. And if I can't provide a third space, I want to make your workspace as comforting as I can, because I think that that is what creates longevity. And the kitchen is hard. When I was in culinary school, we learned the brigade system, so everyone is under the head chef and you follow your line. But the more I've worked in kitchens, I don't want to be the head chef. We are all in this boat together, So I have a really hard time because they'll say, well, she's the chef, but we're all the chef. And I have no problem saying that because I couldn't do it without them. I couldn't do it without anybody on my team. And I want them to feel that ownership. And I think in that ownership comes a level of care that I can't pay them to have, They have to build that and feel that themselves. And so I think that's kind of what makes me a leader that I really haven't seen before. So it kind of makes me feel like I'm uncomfortable a lot. But when I look at my team and I see how much they trust me, it lets me know that I'm on the right path in the way that I am leading. And that when it is uncomfortable, I can just ask them, guys, is this working? Does this make you feel good when I do this? Is there ways that I can be better? Are there things that I can do to make your job easier, And I think sometimes we miss that on the big scale and we just want them to work and work, but I want it to be an equal experience for all of us, I want to be able to go on vacation and feel like you guys are doing great without me, and I want them to be able to go on vacation and enjoy their lives, because we got to find a little more balance. So I think that's a level of care as well that I try to instill in my team. And then one other thing, I had a call to action. If I could ask you to do anything, it would be to support local growers and makers, to cook for someone, to advocate for equitable food access, big or small, and to create spaces where people feel nourished and seen. So the potluck is great. That's a great example. Where's my ice cream? And then food is healing. I think that we sometimes get stuck on macros, and we should definitely care about what's in our food. Do not get me wrong. We should care about what's in our food. We should care about what's going on. But sometimes, if the food comes from a really great source, all of the things that it provides you are there. And you don't need to worry about it. You just need to get out of your own way and cook something good in your own kitchen. And then the power of the table. I think the table creates conversation. And right now, while democracy looks a little funny, we can create that at our own tables. We can invite people in that we don't see all the time. People that we probably, I don't know if I would invite you over for dinner, but I feel like we need to have a conversation and you need it right now. So come on over for dinner, Just opening our doors a little bit more. Difficult conversations often become possible over meals. And I really believe that. Having so many children, sometimes the dinner table is where we would really try out things or let them just ask, just say what you need to say. It's a safe space. So I feel like that's kind of where we were able to build trust. And that is consistently where we were able to build trust. We had family meetings at our dinner table where everybody holds a utensil, and whoever holds the utensil gets to talk. Everybody else has to just kind of let it be. And I really believe that. Sometimes it seems so hard to get around that table, But we just got to make time and try, because it's really important. And no matter how big or small your table is, we'll just keep trying. Let me see. I don't want to bore you guys.
Impossible.
Let me see. I'm gonna leave you with one thing. I had this little quote that I kind of keep in my head. Food is never just food. It's memory, labor, justice, love, and care made visible. I just think that that is really important, because we just have to see each other a little bit better and just always remember that we're better together. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm
Can't
curious
get
about your experience with like culinary school.
Yeah.
And like, cause I'm always trying to bring in food as one of the arts, and like everyone
Yes.
hears culinary arts, but then you get in a gallery and everyone's like, well, there's performance and then there's fine art. I'm like, right, but some of the most impactful art I've had is across the kitchen table or
Yes.
whatever, and like a shared meal. And I'm just curious, like, is any of that in like the learning, or is it just skill based?
A lot of it is just skill based.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about culinary school. Like, my whole reason to go to culinary school was to break down whole animals. I wanted to get in there and get into the butchering side of everything. But as I got into it, I had been a home cook for about 12 years before that. So cookbooks were my teachers. And I learned all of the like plating and the techniques. I did learn techniques, but I learned more of the community side outside of culinary school. So I learned like how to get your produce, how to like do different techniques, how to use science as my friend to create different things. And then when I got into culinary school, I had the stringent teachers to really be like, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes. And it's so technical that you kind of lose that creativity, if that makes sense. And then you get it back at the end.
Okay.
When you've learned, they've beaten all of the technique into you,
Yeah.
and you kind of get rid of your own, you come up with your own stuff.
Yeah.
You get rid of all that, and then you see who you are when you're technically there.
Okay.
But I think when I was out of, honestly, being at Green Dirt, being in the specialty field, it made me see food in a different way. That is food as art, you know?
Yeah.
Because all of your producers look at their items like they are gold, because they are, and you raise it from the grass up, and then there's a different appreciation for it, you know? It's not coming out of a bag, you know? Your milk, you're testing it every day and checking your cheeses every day, and then that made it really brought my game to a different level. Because then I'm not just plating, I'm thinking about what time of year I had that milk pulled for this cheese, for this product that's going with it, and then I'm tasting through to make things fit, you know? So that way the person that eats it after me has a little bit of a flavor explosion that they weren't quite ready for.
Right.
And that's fun.
Okay.
Like, that's where it's like,
Yeah.
yes,
That's
you know?
art.
Yeah. And it's like, for thinking about it, because I have really thought about food as art. And I don't want it to be like food as medicine,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
I want it to, you can really make art. We did art fair where we took cheese and made all of these different displays.
Yeah.
And that felt like art,
Yeah.
you know? It was like being able to create all of these different things with a food product. That was a blast, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just think you just gotta lean into it.
Yeah.
And having space, you know? Because sometimes you don't feel like the artist you are, you know? Because it feels so stuck in hospitality.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because it's like the way, I've heard you talk about food and care, and I'm like, that's how I feel about the arts.
Yes.
And then I feel like I can tell that you're incredibly creative, and so it's like a symbiosis, but we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And then, so like,
Yes.
when you are learning a new art skill, I feel like it's also similar to the way you talk about culinary school then, where it's like
Yes.
you're just learning how to do the thing so much
Yeah.
faster, but it's what you do with it after
Yes.
that becomes the gems and,
Yeah.
and the care and like the flavor explosion.
Yeah, and how you find because my thing are veggies. Like, no matter how much I say I like this, I like that, veggies are my thing. And it's because so many people were afraid of veggies. And when I started out as a raw food chef, everyone was terrified. Like, my family was like so nervous. They were, because it's, you know, it's just veggies, but people have had really bad experiences with vegetables.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, it's being able to take something that is so scary for people and just making it comfortable. Or like, I found when I would make, like, my top seller was this raw lasagna that I would do. And it ended up in the paper. It was like so good. It was one of my favorite things, but it's just zucchini, you know? And just tomatoes that you put down and walnut sausage. But people loved it, and then once I got them hooked on that, then they would try other things, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like just finding that hook. And right now over at Thelma's, it's my curries. Like the vegetable curry, people love it so much. But it makes me feel so good because I dump so many veggies in there, and they do not care. They eat every bit of it, and I'm like, see, I can sneak those in, you know? So I just try to like add those little things in, but I love plating. Like plating is it is where I can really be the chef that I want to be, you know, is when we do those little dinners and you're able to just like get an ingredient and talk to your team, and just, it's a different flow. You know, and it feels so good because that is when, I don't know, there's just nothing like watching people eat your food. It's just so, it can be so nerve-wracking, but once you get them and you know that they're hooked, it's like, ooh, this is fun. I just want to feed you like all the time. So that feels really good. But I think that people should really, and you know what, we should try to really present food more in its artistic lane. Because I think a lot of chefs get stifled because they can't find the art in their food, you know?
But you're caring about each step along the way too, which makes it more valuable and noteworthy. And I think it's like art. When people meet the artist and they hear the process of how this piece was made, they like the art better than they just see it at Hobby Lobby and they're like, okay, there's a flower,
Right. Oh, that's pretty. But then you learn the story.
But you learn, and then the artist shares, well, why did I paint it like this, or why did I put these in it? And I really love hearing you talk about how you work with your team. I think you've got something very unique there, because my daughter worked at a fancy schmancy restaurant outside New York, and I mean, you had this chef who was egomaniac and making a lot of.
There's this myth that's been perpetuated through a lot of media that that's how they have to be.
Yes.
And it's like, I really appreciated what you said about like basically giving your team permission to feel ownership over that.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of years directing and working in television, and it's like from the minute I took the gig, it's like, I don't want to be that crappy egomaniac director that you always hear about.
Yep.
It's like, my constant mantra was always, how can I help you? Because how can I help you give me what I need?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's a two-way street. And I never liked feeling like that. You know, I felt like that made me a worse chef because I'm in my head so much that I can't really find myself as a chef because I'm being exactly how this person wants me to be on this plate. And I had an experience like that when I was in culinary school, because while you're in culinary school, you have to stage. And I just remember being like, I have to find myself outside of here. So I would reach out to all of the like top chefs in the city that were just doing one-off things, and I'd be like, I'll come work for you, and I'll just work for you. I just want to see what it is. And one night I went, and it was just myself and Debbie Gold, and I was her sous chef that night. And she was the best teacher I could have ever had, because she just let me be me for her food. And that felt so free.
That's important.
It's important because she gave me a level of trust and confidence that I was not allowed to have anywhere else, you know? And she was such an idol to me. To be able to have that, it made me feel seen. And it gave me permission to be able to step out. And I think that's just what I try to give, because you don't get that a lot, you know? You don't get a lot.
Teachers with art, or you were just talking about critiquing dishes and critiquing and making still the chef, the cook feel valued, but maybe giving them suggestions on how, if they want, be more flavorful or less flavorful or whatever.
Without the malice.
And same thing with art teachers. You know, I teach art, and so same thing. You know, I've had students who are like, oh, my 6th grade art teacher told me I was
Yeah, yep. He did not, and I just don't want them to give up. You know, I really don't, because I just feel like there were a lot of times in my life when I could have just gave up. But I don't know, I just always knew that there was more. I just knew there was more out there.
Can I ask a question about
Please.
the beginning of Thelma's Kitchen?
Yeah.
Was it modeled after something else, or it just kind of developed through?
I think it just kind of developed
Here,
through.
okay.
Yeah, because Thelma's has been a lot of things. Thelma started out, it was like what was it? It was like a computer cafe. First they started out, it was like coffee and like computers. So people could come in and use computers if they needed to. And then they had a Chef Pam that was in there before. And that's funny because I used to bring her cheese from Green Dirt when we would donate it. And I never ever, like, it just never really crossed my mind, you know? I was just like, I can donate cheese here, I'm gonna do it. So I would like take cheese in, and then I met Chef Pam, and she was great. And they were like serving people, but nobody paid them either. And then when I came, there was like a donate what you can up to like $3, you know? And then when COVID hit and we had to move out of the building because they were renovating it, we put in a catering business over at the church on Central Pres because I knew grants were gonna look different and we still needed money. So we just started catering out of that kitchen. And that gave us footing for a little bit to be okay. And then when we came back, we started as a pay it forward model, thinking that, you know, people would just pay it forward, but that's when the token really came into play because a lot of people can't pay to pay it forward, you know? And being back on 31st and Truce, there's a lot of fear around coming down here and eating lunch. So that's when the corporate partners came in, reaching out to United Way, Operation Breakthrough, Journey to New Life to see if they would buy tokens to be able to support us. So now every client that comes in gets a token and they can come eat in the cafe, and we've built a regular customer, a lunch customer, you know? Because it is a gathering place, it is.
Oh, it is.
But it's lunch, you know?
And you feel safe.
Yes.
There's a camaraderie there. I
Yeah.
come and brought friends. And
Yes.
we sat at tables with people I never would have
Yes.
normally talked to.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so wonderful because I think some people want to help.
Yes. I just don't know. Yeah. And it gets overwhelming, you know, because you give a little and then they're like, they just want more and more and more, you know? But it's like, no.
Or you wonder, is this helping?
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that, I think that myself sometimes because I'm a giver. I just want to give everything. But also, I've learned that it's a fine line because a lot of people don't want to be given to. They just want to know how to get better, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why I ask questions, because I have to get out of my own way of thinking I know best, because I don't know best for you. You know what's best for you, and I need to just ask you how I can help you, you know?
Well, and sitting down and eating with people, you begin to understand a little more of their lives.
Yes.
Humanizes
And you
like
think,
no other.
okay,
Yes.
you need a free lunch, but
Yes.
then you begin to, so you had to get on 3 buses to come here.
Yes, that's it.
And you understand, this is so different than my life, where
Yes.
I'm out in my car
Go where you need to go and get there.
and get home.
And you hear people be like, well, and that's the hardest part. They've been up so long on those buses trying to get where they're going. And so often they get to the place and it's not the right place, or they didn't have what they need. And that's usually when I get them. And right then they're at their wits' end, you know? And sometimes it just, man, I'm getting kind of emotional because you can see it, you know? You can see that they don't know what to do next, but they need you, you know? So it's just like in that moment, I can feed you, you know? I can feed you, you can take a few moments to get off your feet, you can sit down, and once you're done and feel more stable, we can get a case manager and they can figure out how to get you where you need to go, you know? But just take that moment because they just need that moment, you know? It's like they carry so much, like literally and figuratively. Like they've got bags because there's, you know, and side note, like Monday the fairs start again for the buses, you
Yeah,
know? So it's like, I understand, but I've seen how much this has helped people, but I've also seen how it's worn on our bus system, you know? And we just have bigger things to handle, but as long as we can just start at foundationally caring about each other as humans, I think we can move a lot faster together, you know?
I feel lucky that we're here and then having Thelma's and reconciliation services, because we're kind of a spot where people can come in and take a breath and either use the restroom or get the air conditioning, but it's like, I know my capacity to help someone.
Yes.
It does have a limit.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm like, okay, at least I know where you can go.
Yes,
next,
please do.
Yeah, because like sometimes it's touch and go and it gets a little nervy.
It does.
And then it's like, okay, that I helped you as much as I can.
Yes.
This is where we go from here.
Yes.
But it is like, this is next step.
Yes.
But it is like again, it's kind of, you know, hard to know yes and no with different things.
So
Sometimes
hard.
you don't want my help.
Yep.
And it's just a spot for you to come in and take a breath, or hey, there's where your resources are.
Yes.
Like the partnerships and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it feels good to have like-minded folks in other places where we're all trying to work towards the same thing.
Yes, in such a small area.
Yeah.
You know,
But
because
we
it
do
really
very
is
different
small,
things.
but we just, like, I just see the line, you know, and that was one thing, like, living in the neighborhood and serving the neighborhood, it's like, sometimes I'm just like, ugh, I kind of don't want to walk the dog today, you know, because it's like, I don't want to have to,
Yeah.
but then I'm also like, that's where you have to set up boundaries,
Yeah.
you know? If I'm at home, I'm at home. If I'm at work, we can talk or do whatever, but I need a break too, you know?
Yeah.
I have to recharge and like fill my cup and be able to be there for my kids because and my husband, like I love them so much. I love my family tremendously. And that's kind of where I go to just recharge and be. It's like my happy place. So, and I love feeding them. So I just I'm always like checking in. And now my son, he's 13 and he's kind of getting into it. Like our daughters have always worked. My brother-in-law was the GM at Bella Napoli. So they've all worked there since they were 14. And then he opened Crew across the street. So they help out there now too. But just watching them all in hospitality has been like, whoa, you guys have really been paying attention. And I've been thinking more and more about going out on my own, and they are for it. And they're so excited, and they're like picking out roles. And I was like, oh, that's super exciting. So mom's gotta like get it together. Yeah. But they're pumped. So
that's so cool.
That's really cool to see them. It's cool to see that it does rub off, you know?
It is effective.
It is effective. And those table talks, man, I'm telling you, we try to really keep those going because they're like, we call them the triplets because they're 22, almost 22, 19, and just turned 18.
Okay.
And they're all graduated now as of like 2 Saturdays ago. And then, thank you. And then we have 13 and 4. So we're like, we're not done yet. But it's nice because I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have the littles with everybody graduating. I would have been a wreck. So it's just kind of nice to have the break. But
well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. You're the best. This is so great. Thank you, Kevin.
So much.
You guys are so sweet.